Have you been hearing rumblings about the gene keys and maybe wondering how they can help you in your business? Maybe you've even heard that it can help you quantum leap your business and your growth. Well, I think those things can be true, but you have to know how to use the tool and how to get started in a way that doesn't lead you to overwhelm and analysis paralysis. So today I'm going to walk you through how to look at just one sphere in your gene keys, how to get your chart and look at just one sphere. Believe me, it's the first one of the Activate Your Genius sequence, and it's a big one. So it's not like you're going to barely do anything, but it can start you on your contemplation journey and really help you in your business. For me, I really like both the Gene Keys and Human Design, but the Gene Keys has helped me more in being consistent in my marketing messaging, and really understanding how my work connects to my life purpose and really what I'm here on this planet to do. Before that, I was doing it, but I was second guessing. I would get caught in other people's programs and services and their courses, and really in the numbers. If something I put out didn't reach enough people right away, I was like, I must be doing it wrong. It must be my intuition must have been wrong. I guess I wasn't meant to do this. And so when I found the Gene Keys and in particular the spirit that we're going to look at here today, I was like, oh my gosh, I was doing this naturally. I really had the calling to do it. My intuition was telling me, but I second guessed it. So seeing it on paper really validated that for me. And I think you'll find it does that for you too. I'm Nicole Streichaz, and I am a professional copywriter. And when I help my clients, I found that they were getting confused too, that they were having a hard time staying the course and staying consistent long enough to really get traction. And so I started applying the Gene Keys and Human Design to their work too. And they started feeling that sense of peace and understanding like, okay, this is what I'm meant to do and how I'm meant to do it, like which energy I am in. And now I help people really understand what frequency they're in when they're marketing. Because if you're in your shadow frequency, you're probably pushing people away and repelling them. But when you're in your gift or your mastery frequency, the city frequency, then you're really putting out something that can attract people in. And it comes across more like engaging, high vibe, and just magnetic. That's like the best word, because it helps you be magnetic. So let's look at just one sphere in your chart. I'm going to pull up the Gene Keys website, show you how to do it. I'm just going to put in today's date and time so that you can see how it works. So let me share my screen, and here we go. Okay, so you just come to thegenekeys.com and you choose free profile. I've put in a name YouTube because I'm doing this video for YouTube. You can put in whatever email address it won't email you unless you check this box. So it just has to be a valid email, a city, and date and time. So you just put in your birth details. The time is important, and where you were born is important for the time zone. You're really going to need that. And it's important to note that birth time after noon goes into military time. So you just want to make sure you're in AM or PM as you're supposed to be. So if you did want to join and get their newsletter, you would click here. Otherwise, you just hit create my profile. There you go. So here's YouTube's profile at this time. What I want you to see, there's definitely a lot of information. It'll talk about your deepest purpose, love, prosperity. But remember, I want to keep you out of overwhelm and out of getting like stressed out by this. So, and I say stressed, I mean, it's easy to go down a rabbit hole, but it's actually harder to have a little patience and read one thing and digest it. And that's where I think you'll feel the magic of this is when you just slow down, see how does it apply to you. I've been using it, like I said, for my clients, for friends, for family. And we find when you look at it and you just take your time, it has so much to reveal, and that's super helpful in your life. So here you are. This is your hologenetic profile. So there's these little buttons over here on the side where you can click and unclick. So if you don't want your birth data to be seen, maybe you want to give this to somebody. I do blueprints on Etsy. So I give people the choice. They can send me their birth details, or they can send me their birth chart, their hologenetic profile, and their human design body graph without the birth date data. I just need the info, not the things. So like you could take off these lines if you want, but for this, go ahead and keep them on. And then these pathways you can have or not have, that's advanced too. So I would leave those off. So you want to make sure you have these frequencies and the lines. So this is what you need. So you need a word up here, 1, 2, 3, and a line so that we can get to this. So what I want you to notice, the one sphere I'm going to have you look at is your life's work. So if you were to activate your genius and do the genius sequence that Richard Rudd has laid out for people to really awaken their gifts and tap into their soul signature, you start with life's work. So that's why I say you just need the one to start with to really contemplate and think about. He has some books that you could be interested in. The Gene Keys, this one. This is a really complex book. I find it kind of hard to read, to be honest. I'll put the link in this YouTube video, but it takes a lot of brain power to read it. You have to read it and read it. So it's rich, but that's more when you're ready for like a commitment, like you're sure you want to go down this path and you want to get the most information you can. The book I find easier is this one, The 64 Ways. And you can also just look at the words. You can just look and see, what do they mean to you? What do you feel about them? You can look up synonyms. And the book that would go with the Activate Your Genius sequence is this one, The Golden Path, book 1 of 4. So that's the books that you need. But for this exercise, I think you could just go ahead and look. Let me see if I can make my screen bigger. So say you go to your life's work, like this one, there's this line 1, creator. There's a shadow of deafness. The shadow is always this bottom one. There's a gift of insight. And then there's the Siddhi, Siddhi, which I call the mastery level just because it's easier for me to pronounce. And that one's epiphany. So you could see the way the gene keys are, nothing's a negative, nothing, you have a shadow energy, but it doesn't mean that like, oh my gosh, you have like a deafness about you, you're not listening. It would instead mean something more likely, if you were to read in the books or really feel into it, that you were maybe not having an awareness and things weren't reaching you, that you weren't hearing maybe the information that you need to hear. So you would just contemplate that. You would think about it. Where in my life am I not hearing the information that I need to hear? Where in my life could I be more insightful? Because the gift level on this one is insightful. So deafness would probably be the opposite of insight. And then insight would be you're getting those insights, those visions. Maybe you're feeling called to share them. And then as you contemplate and really embody that, you would get to that epiphany where you're having awareness and epiphanies and understandings, and you're seeing the whole as it relates together. The line on this, it's a little complicated to explain the keynote line when you're just beginning, but that's an energy that would help you get out of the shadow. So this person, this YouTube person, is a line 1 creator. So when they're feeling this deafness, I'm feeling like that's like not connectedness. They could go into creation mode, like maybe paint something, do a little DIY project around the house. Something like that would help move out of deafness and into insight, epiphany, or creator. Now, why I've found this so powerful in my marketing is because let's say you're tone deaf or insensitive to people. Like I've noticed if you go on TikTok and you put in like motivation, #motivation, you get a lot of male people like in your face telling you how to be motivated, and not just for exercise, but for life and inspiration. And that maybe doesn't feel good to everyone. So I would say they could have a deafness in their marketing where they're like repelling a certain part of the market who maybe doesn't want someone like in their face. Now, it may be working for others. Others may need that wake up call or that vision, but then I would argue they're probably shadow energy attracting like shadow energy that needs that, which is okay. I mean, however our business works and feels fulfilling is like that's great. But for me, I wouldn't connect with somebody who was like so yelly, like it just wouldn't feel good to me. Like that's not motivating. I think our power comes from within, which is just my personal belief. So say this person was in that deafness and they're like yelling, they're in your face. You just may not resonate and it may affect their marketing and their ability to sell to you. They might sell to other people. But say they go through their transformation work and they're more in that insightful phase, then that might be the phase where they attract you. Our soul clients don't have to be on just one frequency at what time. Like you're going to attract people at different times in your life. That's just the way it works. It's just like friendships that come and go. That's what happens. Sometimes you're vibing on the same wavelength and sometimes you're not. But depending on what you're doing with your marketing, if you're ready to expand your reach and attract your soul clients, I feel you attract them more. And actually, in my experience and what I've seen, you attract them more when you're in your gift and your mastery, like when you're really owning it and embodying it. That's what makes you more magnetic. So you may get people with the shadow, but I feel it's harder and they may not stick, or they may get your stuff and they just don't resonate with it and they don't stick around. So for this person, when they're in their insight, that might be where you're like, oh my God, that person, so insightful. I've never thought of it that way. That's like a new way for me to look at it. And you might resonate. But in any case, just looking at your life's work and seeing, do I embody these things? Like, am I sometimes having this sense of deafness in this case? Or where in my life am I insightful? And where do I have those epiphanies? Like maybe you notice every time you're at the beach and you're relaxed and you allow yourself to play, you have epiphanies more. You have these understandings, you have these intuitive hits or intuitive downloads, whatever you want to call them. Just start to notice. And if you can, write it down in a journal, take a note in your phone, and just become aware. Where do you move through the energies of your life's work and how do you embody it? So, like in my case, mine is forgetting is my shadow, mindfulness is my gift, and then revelation is that city level. So, I didn't know that mindfulness was mine. So, I literally had a website called Mind Over Messy. I was sharing mindful tips. I was talking about mindfulness and being really present in your life. Like, ever since my mom passed, I just had that like, oh my God, I have to be present like every moment, the good, the bad, the ugly, because who knows how short life is. But then I started thinking, well, who am I to share it? And then when I do share it on my blog, like what are people going to do when they get there? How do I support the blog? You know, you have to pay for your hosting and all those things and the time it takes. And I started to just move away from it without realizing that it was literally in my life's work to talk about mindfulness. So, you know, it led me on a good path because that's why I started doing marketing and copywriting was I was trying to figure out how to do that blog. But at the same time, I was like looking back, oh, if I had known this sooner, I probably would have kept on with that instead of second guessing it. I would have just left that part out where I worried about like the what, the why, the how, the who am I, and just like went with it. Would have been like, stay there in my gene key. I will say though, you should always use your intuition first. If something about your gene key doesn't resonate, don't go with it, especially if you have a question mark about your birth time or the location. Something could be off, but in most cases, at least with my family, myself, and my clients, it's felt like highly accurate. There's one other thing I want you to see. So life's work we're talking about. If you go up just one page, you'll see there's this paragraph about life's work, what you're here to do. So I think looking at that sphere, just looking at the words, seeing how you feel about them, getting the book. This is the one I recommend if you feel like you want to go further, it's on Amazon. I'll put the link below. But also read this Life's Work, What I'm Here to Do. I have to put glasses on to read it though. Let me see. So this says, you are not here to fit in with what society expects of you. You're the original creative rebel. You do not need to drop out of society, but you will have to live one that allows you to integrate with others, but still gives you absolute freedom of expression. It says to refuse to be controlled by others. Your spirit must feel at ease. And then it talks about achievement, how to allow yourself to be childlike. So in my example of the epiphany, like, does it happen when you're at the beach? It makes me wonder, like, digging a sandcastle or digging a hole, making a sandcastle, would that be where you get your epiphanies? And then, goes on to say, whatever work you do, you need to pour your insight into it. So that's that gift. And you need a role that always allows you to be spontaneous. Above all, you must be able to laugh at yourself and how serious you can sometimes become. So it's kind of like a little guide based on your life's work, your sphere. So when you look at this book, The Shadow of Deafness, I just wanted to look it up. It says we're deaf because we can't handle the silence of life. So what he's saying is if you're this person with this gene key, you might not be making time for the insight by just being quiet and letting your mind and your, I don't know, maybe your YouTube scrolling, your TikTok watching, just letting your mind be quiet and allow for those insights. That's like you're putting on a deafness to what could be coming through for you because you're busy and in chaos. He uses the quote from Shakespeare's Macbeth, full of sound and fury signifying nothing. Let's see how he puts it. A life of sound and fury signifying nothing. So if you have this gene key and I happen to be talking to you, gene key 43 is your life's work, you might just want to think about, am I making time for insight and epiphany? Am I making time for play? And can I handle silence long enough for this to come through? I remember when I was first learning about mindfulness and trying to quiet my mind and realizing like, oh my God, I don't need that voice like going through 24/7. I used to practice having a quiet mind and literally would have that thought, my mind's quiet. Now it's quiet. Oh, I'm not thinking now. And then it was like, oh my God, I'm still going with that chatter and that noise. And so learning to quiet that noise is what allows you to connect to your intuition, your insight, and your epiphany. So a person with this gene key would want to be mindful of that and then mindful in their life's work, how they're applying that. So I hope this helped you figure out your gene key. I'm going to stop my share and come back. So just start with life purpose. It could be easy. It doesn't have to be that hard. You want to go through them, I think, like one at a time if you can go through the first sequence. But for now, just start with life purpose and see how does it make you feel. When you come through the activate your genius sequence, it becomes your soul brand, what you put out into the world, your messaging. If you do want to start going a little further with this, I do have a gene key blueprint that talks about your marketing messaging, which I go through some of the spheres for you and give you the information so that you have it detailed to keep if you're not wanting to buy all the books and take this deep dive. It is a commitment to look at the gene keys and human design, but then at the same time, it's a time saver because you become more embodied, more aligned with your soul signature so that you take out a lot of that like second guessing and the worry. Like I said, with my first website, I would have just like spent any time I was wondering why I was doing it, just marketing, getting it out there, promoting it, instead of staying in some chaos and confusion. My shadow for that, for life purpose, is forgetting. And in this case, it means like forgetting to like slow down, get information, be really present. And I could have done that at the time of my business had I known. But in any case, start with life's work. If you want to comment it in the comments below and let me know what yours is, I'd love to know. And I'd love to know if you ended up being the gene key that I just shared, because that would be really cool to see if it happened to synchronistically work like that. So Again, I'm Nicole Straight Jazz with the Awakened Professional, and you'll find the resources below, but start small, but it's deep. It's deep work. So just start small and let it reveal itself to you and show you what does it mean for you and your business. Bye.